Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 3T Path channel, and welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now we're in this fascinating chapter where Krishna is giving Uddhava some deep spiritual knowledge, and we've been focusing on a very important but very difficult to grasp concept of not being the doer. How the soul is not the doer. How are you not actually doing things? It's like, what does that mean? Very hard to understand. So we've been talking about that. And if you want to catch up with the whole course, the last class and all the other classes, we're up to almost 40 classes already in this course. This is the only complete Uddhava-gita course in the world online. You won't find another one. And so if you want to catch up with the whole course, make sure you become a member of the channel. And the instructions for becoming a member of the channel are here in the description of the video. As a member of the channel, you can access the whole course, all the classes, as many times as you want. So here we are. We are in the 11th canto, 11th chapter, verse 10. Krishna says, "An unintelligent person situated within the body, created by his previous fruitive activities, his karma, thinks, I am the performer of action. Bewildered by false ego, such a foolish person is therefore bound up by fruitive activities, karma, which are in fact carried out by the modes of nature." So look at these heavy words from Krishna here. So he says the unintelligent person who finds himself, he's in a body, and this body is created. How did you get this body? This body was created by your past fruitive activity. In other words, your past karma. This is a body, fruit of your karma. So here you are, an unintelligent person. I'm saying here is that person, unintelligent, in this karmic body. And he thinks, I am the performer of action. Look at these words. It's very clear words. Krishna is saying the foolish person thinks he is the performer of action. Why is he foolish? Because he is bewildered by ahankar, false ego. He is bewildered by this concept of identifying with the body. That's what ahankar means, false ego, translated as false ego. This is a perfect translation because ego is the Greek for I, false I. So your false identification, who am I? And then you fail in the question. You answer, I am this body. And then you think, I'm this body from this family in this place with this tendency and blah, blah, blah. So then, wrong answer. So no, that's not who you are. That is the false I. So that person therefore is here bewildered, unintelligent, and foolish. All these things. Krishna, we're laying down all these heavy terms on this person. So you're not your body. So false ego. So bewildered by false ego, though such a foolish person is therefore bound up by karma, by the fruitive activities. So then the activities you're performing, the karma being performed for such a person who is bewildered by false ego, who's being unintelligent, who's being foolish, what happens is then that person gets bound up in their action. In other words, they accumulate more and more karma. You understand? So once you are in the surface reality, once your mind is on the surface, you're identified with matter, you're accepting your body and your material designations as yourself, and then you're thinking, I am the performer of action. So completely in the surface, you put yourself in matter. It's the eternal transcendental soul identified completely with matter. Now that person then stays entangled in matter by the law of karma. But these activities are actually being carried out by the gunas, by the modes of nature, Krishna says. So this is actually being carried out by guna. That's a very important word gunas are the fundamental principles of material reality, prakriti. Everything is actually happening in the field of prakriti. And you, as an eternal soul, you're not from prakriti. You're a different category of existence. You will never be matter, and matter will never be consciousness. Different category of existence, different tattva. This category with different tattva. There are 3 tattvas: God tattva, Vishnu tattva. There's soul tattva, jiva tattva. And there's matter tattva, prakriti tattva. So these things never get mixed up. God is never soul, soul is never God, God is never matter, matter is never God. And matter is never soul. But then the foolish person in ahankar, he identifies soul with matter. So he thinks he's doing the action, he's actually doing things, when actually he is not. Okay, a little hard to understand, but you'll get it. As stated in Bhagavad-gita 3:27, Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasham ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The living entity is dependent on the supreme entity, Lord Krishna. But because of his false pride, he ignores the supreme personality of Godhead and considers himself to be the performer of action and enjoyer of everything. Srila Madhvacharya states that just as a king punishes a rebellious subject, the Supreme Lord punishes the sinful living entity by forcing him to transmigrate from one body to another in the network of the illusory energy. Okay, now we've reached verse 11, 11, 11. So if you like that kind of number, pay attention to this verse. So this is verse 11 of chapter 11 of the 11th canto. Okay, so this verse, Krishna says, an enlightened person fixed in detachment engages his body in lying down, sitting, walking, bathing, seeing, touching, smelling, eating, hearing, and so on, but is never entangled by such activities. Indeed, remaining as a witness, key word here, remaining as a witness to all bodily functions, he merely engages his bodily senses with their objects and does not become entangled like an unintelligent person. Really good, isn't it? I'll repeat. So, an enlightened person, fixed in detachment. So, detachment, you now understand that, look, Prakriti, Jiva, I'm not this matter, I'm not this, I'm not matter, I'm not this, I am not any of this. Detached. Now, I can see that I'm sitting, talking, walking, driving, cleaning the house, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not entangled by these activities. Why? Because I remain as a witness. I witness these things. Of course, you can say, I want to sit down, I want to talk, I want to take a bath, I want to drive. Fine. So you're taking a bath because you wanted. I'm talking, I'm raising my hand because I desire these things. So I commanded them, but I'm the witness. I'm not actually doing them. They're happening in another category of existence. They're happening in Prakriti. And I am witnessing that happening. You might think, well, that doesn't make much difference. It makes a huge difference. Imagine you go watch a movie. So then you're watching these characters and they're doing this and they're falling in love and they're fighting a war and they're, shooting at each other, uncovering some secret. And you're witnessing and you're having some fun. But then when, their children die and blow up and, or somebody gets shot and, it's not, it doesn't destroy you, right? It doesn't throw you off. You don't fall into depression because of that, right? I mean, it's just like, oh, okay, that's, because you witnessed those things. So you felt it. You weren't like, you felt it. There was some connection. But because you were in witness mode, even though you were identified with the hero, you got into the story, you're into it, right? That's or else it's like but you're into it, you're enjoying it, you're feeling things, you're feeling happiness and sadness, but you're a witness, so it doesn't overwhelm you. It doesn't knock you off your center, it doesn't crush you, it doesn't make you lose your balance, yourself. You don't forget yourself. You're a witness. Look, I'm just watching. This is a movie. This is something happening there, and I'm here. And nothing that happens there on the screen is going to affect me. I mean, they can be in a nuclear environment. They're blowing things. They're shooting, but none of those stray bullets are going to hit me here because I'm a witness. I'm in a different category of existence. That's like something else. I'm here. Makes a huge, huge difference. That's what the yogi does. A yogi who understands these teachings that Krishna is giving here. If you can understand verse 11, 11, 11, you will then go through life in peace, in harmony, stable, strong, and you'll deal with life, you interact with life, you're identified enough to do things. Yes, okay, I'm commanding this body. So yes, I have to make this body lie down and stand up and move this and pick this up and move that thing over there. So you're identified enough to, not become like a crazy person, like useless in the world. No, you're identified enough to interact and be effective and with other people and with things. But you don't forget you're a witness. You maintain detachment. And therefore, when things, go really well, you're happy, but you're not like, losing your balance and losing yourself because of overjoyed. And at the same time, when things, go south, and don't work out well, you're not destroyed. You're not, because you're a witness. So you become equanimity, you become stable and happy and joyful in being, because there's a whole pleasure in just being. Again, back to the movies. You were good before the movie started, right? I mean, you were happy in yourself and being. Everything was fine even before the movie started. And the movie was there and you were liking that too. You enjoy that. But you're still happy just being yourself. You're not completely dependent on the movie experience. You're happy being yourself. And that's what the yogi does. He's a witness to the world, so he's happy being himself as well. Very important. Purport. In the previous chapter, Uddhava asked Lord Krishna why an enlightened person, just like a conditioned soul, engages in external bodily functions. Here is the Lord's answer. While engaged in bodily functions, an unintelligent person is attached to both lamentation, to both the means and the end of material life, and therefore experiences intense lamentation and jubilation on the material platform, because he's attached to both the means and the end of material life. A self-realized soul, however, studies the inevitable defeat and suffering of ordinary persons and does not make the mistake of trying to enjoy the bodily functions even slightly. He instead remains a detached witness, merely engaging his senses in the normal functions of bodily maintenance. As indicated here by the word atayan, he engages something other than his actual self in material experience. He's engaging his desire, his mind is acting different, detached as the observer. Interesting that in the Yoga Sutras, in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the word he uses to describe the self is drashtu, witness. Same word. Okay, now here verses 12 and 13. Now Krishna is going to give you a little hint, a technique to help you understand these difficult concepts. Although the sky, or space, is the resting place of everything, the sky does not mix with anything, nor is it entangled. Similarly, the sun is not at all attached to the water in which it is reflected within innumerable reservoirs. And the mighty wind blowing everywhere is not affected by the innumerable aromas and atmospheres through which it passes. In the same way, a self-realized soul is completely detached from the material body and the material world around it. He is like a person who has awakened and arisen from a dream. With expert vision sharpened by detachment, the self-realized soul cuts all doubts to pieces through knowledge of the self and completely withdraws his consciousness from the expansion of material variety. So 3 examples, and if you've been with me from the beginning of this Uddhava-gita course, then please let me know below if you have. If you've been with me from the beginning of this course, you will have remembered the teachings of Dattatreya. Great teachings, his gurus from nature, and he taught these things. These very examples Krishna is using, Krishna already taught these examples to Uddhava through the story of Dattatreya. So, 3 examples from nature to understand how you're not the doer. The sky, the sun, and the wind. So now for one thing, when we say sky, and you see here in the translation, sky or space, there isn't really a good translation for this word, but the concept is where everything is situated. So space is good, but then when we think of space, we tend to think of like, oh, you know, like once you go up so many, you know, thousands of feet in the atmosphere, beyond, oh, that's space. No. So it's not space in terms of like somewhere else, you know, where rockets go or something. No. So, and it's not sky, but it's this stuff that's everywhere, where everything is situated in. That's what this word means in Sanskrit. When we say sky, we mean like what everything is in. So like, I'm in, you know, what's around me, you know, in the atmosphere. But it's not just atmosphere, because even if there weren't, you know, these molecules here, it would still, you know, be sky. So this stuff, ether, it used to be the word translated sometimes as ether. So just as everything is situated in the ether, sky, space, whatever you want to call it, but it doesn't mix with anything. There's a difference. Like you have, you know, there's my body here, and then there's space, sky, ether around it. And then even inside me, there's, you know, space, sky, ether, whatever. But it's still, it goes through my body, and it doesn't mix. It's like it's still something else. So that's one way to understand the soul. It's like it's here, but it's not here. Okay, so if that doesn't work for you, here's a second example Krishna gives. The sun. So you have the sun, and then you have like, you know, like a little pot, bucket full of water maybe, and then you have like a puddle, and then you have like a little lake and a pond and the ocean, and you have like thousands of little, you know, certain things with like a bit of water, and the sun is reflected off every one of those water surfaces, right? Millions of little surfaces of water on the planet, and the sun is there being reflected out of all of them. But, you know, he's being reflected, but it's nothing to do with him. He's there. You can see the sun. You have a little bucket of water. Oh, look, I can see the sun. But the sun doesn't care. The sun isn't attached. The sun is like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where it's appearing. It reflected this, it's reflecting in a puddle of, dog pee. He doesn't care. Water, and it's pure water, it's dirty water, it's sewage, it doesn't matter. It's there, but the sun doesn't care. So that's another example. And then the third example, to understand this, which I really like, is that of the wind. So then the wind is moving around, and sometimes the wind goes through a dirty place, like a nasty dumpster, horrible, foul dumpster. So then it's going to carry all these horrible, foul smells. But it's not the wind. The wind itself isn't smelly. It's just carrying these aromas for a little while. And then at some point, those aromas are going to go and the wind's going to continue. And then it might go through a beautiful, field of flowers and pick up, beautiful lavender field. Can you imagine this beautiful lavender field, the sun? And then the wind goes through there. It's going to carry this beautiful aroma of lavender. But it's still not the wind. It's carrying it, but it's not. So these are some examples in nature for you to try to understand this relationship of the soul with matter. It's like that. It's like there but not there. Involved but not involved. Active but not active. A little hard to grasp, but I think it becomes a little easier with time. So the same way, the self-realized soul is completely detached from the material body and the material world around it. And then the other example Krishna gives here is the classic one we've used many times. He is like a person who has awakened and arisen from a dream. Same thing, like a dream world, and then you figure out it's a dream, so you're there, but you're not there. It's a body, but it's not a body. It's like you're still there in the dream, but you're not really, it's not really you. You don't identify with it, you're detached from it. Okay. So, with expert vision sharpened by detachment, the self-realized soul cuts all doubts to pieces through knowledge of the self. So that's what it is. That's what we're doing here. We're cultivating knowledge of the self so we can sharpen our vision with detachment, and then generally we'll be cutting off all doubts. So if you still have doubts, that's okay. You're in the process here. You're getting the knowledge to do that, to cut your doubts with and to sharpen your vision. Very good. Purport. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a self-realized soul cuts all doubts to pieces by direct experience of his true spiritual identity. And of course, that's exactly what we're doing. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna, and there is no possibility of any existence separate from Lord Krishna. Such expert knowledge cuts all doubts to pieces. As stated here, Prakriti sto pi asamsakta. Like the sky, the sun or the wind, one who is self-realized is not entangled. Although situated within the material creation of the Lord. Nanatva, or material variety, refers to one's material body, the bodies of others, and the unlimited paraphernalia for bodily sense gratification, both physical and mental. By awakening to Krishna consciousness, one completely retires from illusory sense gratification and becomes absorbed in the progressive realization of the soul situated within the body. As revealed in the example of the two birds in a tree, which we did a couple of classes ago, both the individual soul and the personality of Godhead are completely separate from the gross and subtle material bodies. If one turns one's face to the Lord, recognizing one's eternal dependence on Him, there will be no further suffering or anxiety, even though one is still situated within the material world. The unlimited experiences of material objects only increase one's anxiety, whereas perception of the absolute truth, Sri Krishna, immediately brings one to the platform of peace. Thus, one who is intelligent retires from the world of matter and becomes a fully self-realized, Krishna-conscious person. Very nice. Okay. Verse 14. A person is considered to be completely liberated from the gross and subtle material bodies when all the functions of his vital energy, senses, mind, and intelligence are performed without material desire. Such a person, although situated within the body, is not entangled. Okay. This is hard to understand because people think that if I'm in the body, I must do things with material desire. They think like, look, if I'm going to even eat, that must be a material desire. I wouldn't eat. So what am I going to do? Just like lie down, unmoving, like a log from now on? You know, that's it. I won't eat, talk, sleep, move around, walk, lift a finger, I won't do anything. No. Some people did think that. That was like some lines of Hatha Yoga. They would have this goal, samadhi would be just to become like a log. You know, nothing happens. But no, that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is, the difference is understanding that you are now, as the observer, as the witness, understanding that you're not matter, but you are trapped in, you're currently involved with matter. Like again, we were at the cinema, so you're there, you know, you sat down, you can't get out, let's say, you know, you can't get out. You have to watch the movie now. Nothing you can do about that. So now you're watching anyway, you're here anyway, so what do? Dharma. The key word is Dharma. That's what I teach. The 3T path of Krishna teaches in Bhagavad-gita. Will now act not because of material desire, which is kama. Now I'll act because of dharma. I'll act out of duty. I'll act as a matter of dharma, of duty, of purpose. I'll act as a matter of dharma, as a loving offering to Krishna. So Krishna says, whatever you do, do that as an offering unto me, he tells Arjuna. So Arjuna didn't want to fight, didn't want to act. Krishna says, no, you have to act because that is your dharma, that is your duty. So you have to act. So Krishna isn't asking you to like be in a weird, like become a log and play statue for the rest of your life until you drop dead of starvation. No, that's not it. But you don't have to be motivated by future result, what I call the fantasy paradigm in the 3T path. You're no longer motivated by the fantasy paradigm of thinking that you need something in the future, that some desire being met will make you happy. No. Now you're motivated by Dharma in the here and now for the pleasure of Krishna. Very important point, hugely emphasized in the 3T path in general, in my works in general. Purport. The material body and mind are subject to lamentation, illusion, hunger, lust, greed, insanity, frustration, etc. But one who remains active in this world without attachment is considered vinir mukta, or completely liberated. The vital energies, senses, mind, and intelligence are purified when engaged in the devotional service of Lord Krishna, as confirmed throughout Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's it. Let's end here. I hope you enjoyed this class. I hope something kind of hit home there and you understood these difficult to grasp concepts. And may you have the rest of your day with lots of love and lots of peace. Hare Krishna.